I've been a photographer for a lot of years, but I think I've been editing my images wrong for all this time. Okay, maybe not wrong, but definitely not in the most efficient way. Like almost everyone else, when I am in Lightroom or Capture One or any of the other photo editing software options out there, I'm doing this. I'm dragging my mouse around or using my touchpad. I've got to pick a slider and then move it around with the mouse. Even with keyboard shortcuts and customizing my editing software layout, in a long editing session, all of my clicking around, it adds up to quite a bit of time and energy, but it's not really something that I really thought about before. I just knew that sitting in front of my computer wasn't my favorite thing, but I just thought I had to deal with it. Fortunately, I have discovered a few solutions that are specifically made for making editing more efficient for you and your process. The computer mouse might be a jack of all trades, but these devices are a jack of one trade. Here is the Loupedeck Plus. Looks like a keyboard from a distance, but let's take a closer look. It's an editing console that knows the controls in editing software. It gives you dedicated buttons and knobs to work with those controls. The point is that you have a custom, in-depth, and fast solution to editing your photos. Right now, it works with Adobe Lightroom Classic CC, Adobe Photoshop CC, Skylum Aurora HDR, and even Adobe Premiere Pro CC. And they are working on making it compatible with other pieces of software this year. Okay, to be fair, I was a little skeptical at first. I thought, do I really need another thing to keep around just to edit my photos? I don't even enjoy editing my photos. Won't this just be more trouble than it's worth? However, Raymond was really interested in it, so at his urging, I tried it. And as it turns out, he was onto something. I actually really like it, so take a look. I have pulled one of my photo shoots from a couple of years ago into Lightroom. The project was intended to be a juxtaposition. Here I was in a bright yellow handmade dress with flowers in my hair against this harsh volcanic rock in northern Arizona. By the way, did you know that the last volcanic eruption in Arizona, where that lava flow behind me came from, was just 1,000 years ago? In geologic terms, that's like a few seconds ago, which only scares me a little bit. But anything for my art, right? So I climbed up and around those rocks for this shoot. Anyway, I pulled the photos and I will re-edit them using the Loupedeck Plus to illustrate how it works. First, let's take a look at the Loupedeck Plus itself. I will do some actual editing in Lightroom while I chat about the board. There are a lot of buttons and dials. There are dedicated named knobs and keys, and there are customizable buttons and dials as well. The controls with names do exactly what is spelled out on them. Need to increase contrast? It's right here. Saturation? No problem. And even hue, saturation, and luminance for each color, right here. But there are other controls that have a letter and number. Those are the customizable buttons and dials. They come with something already assigned, like D1 is dehaze when you're using Lightroom. And these P buttons up top all have presets assigned to them. But you can actually customize what these buttons and dials do. You can assign certain presets to those P buttons or change D1 from dehaze to something else. Their setup software is equally as intuitive to use as the board itself. Really easy to get to as well. Okay, then there is a whole additional layer of controls that you can access by pressing the function button and then using any of the buttons and dials. So D1 on its own controls dehaze, but function and D1 together controls vignetting. And that is customizable as well. There are a whole slew of controls on here. You can copy and paste adjustments from one image to another image or images. You can create a virtual copy of an image or undo or redo. I could go on and on. And don't get me wrong, all of these things are things that you can do with your mouse or touchpad. But for me, once I built a little bit of muscle memory on the Loupedeck Plus, I was just able to make edits more quickly because I didn't even really need to look anywhere other than the image on my screen. I guess I feel more immersed in the creative process too, and because of that, it was quicker to experiment as well. I've been calling it wiggling the knob, so I can just see what happens to an image when, I just try something out and I'm not sure it's gonna work. It's just easy to give it a try. And then if you wanna set it back to normal, you just press that knob that you were using and you're back to where that control started. So I guess that's another easy thing about it as well. As for the board itself, it has kind of a velvety finish that just feels good on my hands, so I like using it. And the folks at Loupedeck have clearly focused on the editing process, both from the sheer number of controls that you have on this device, but also in the logical arrangement of the keys and buttons and dials and the flexibility that you have with the system. And I like that they have a good manual that I can download, and I was able to look at that when I just got stuck as to how to do something. I'm definitely just getting started with the Loupedeck. I already have some muscle memory for it, but I'm definitely still gaining fluency. I have a ways to go. It's going to take some time, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I guess I'm just letting you know that this is something that will grow with me, and I'm definitely going to continue to use it when I'm editing my upcoming photo shoots. In fact, Raymond and I have both been using this for some of the photos from our recent trip to Yellowstone. Okay, I re-edited all of the photos from that volcanic photo project in different ways using the Loupedeck Plus. Kind of in the process of building experience with this, I was experimenting with it. And you saw a couple of the new edits here, but VIPs, channel members, Patreon patrons, log into your respective sites where I show you my previous edits and then my new edits using the Loupedeck Plus. And if you're interested in the Loupedeck, I have put an Amazon link down in the description below. I buy just about all my gear through Amazon, and I'm also an Amazon affiliate, which means that when you use my Amazon links to buy products like the Loupedeck Plus or anything else, it helps to support my channel and helps me keep making the content that you're interested in. So thank you to those of you who are using those links. And to wrap up, I have one last thought and a question for you. My last thought is that I think I like this for two reasons. Number one, I love efficiency, and this is efficient. And two, I think it kind of adds a little bit of fun to the process because it almost feels like I'm playing with a toy because I just like all the buttons and dials and stuff. I mean, it's a solid piece of equipment, don't get me wrong, but it's just kind of fun to use. And if nothing else, it definitely shakes up my process, which is always helpful for me because it keeps things fresh when I'm doing it day in and day out. And now for my question for you. Have you ever tried a solution like the Loupedeck or any other sort of dedicated tool for image editing, or even for other specific functions? Let me know down in the comments. And if you have any questions about editing in Lightroom or about the Loupedeck, let me know that also. Thanks for watching, everyone, and happy editing.